If your fridge died tonight, tomorrow morning your kitchen would become a negotiation with bacteria. The milk would start acting suspicious. The meat would become a serious family meeting. The vegetables would still look innocent, but even they would be on a countdown. And suddenly, that cold box in the corner would stop feeling ordinary. It would feel like one of the greatest inventions in your whole house, because the fridge does something we barely think about. It holds back time. It lets leftovers survive. It lets milk wait. It lets meat sit quietly instead of turning your kitchen into a warning. So here is the strange question. Before fridges existed, how did people live with food that wanted to spoil? Because people still had milk, meat, fish, vegetables, and leftovers. They just did not have a machine humming in the kitchen, quietly fighting rot all day. And the answer is not one trick. It was a whole lifestyle. Before fridges, people hunted cold, stored cold, bought cold, buried food near cold, and when that failed, changed the food so it could survive without it. The first crazy trick was simple, powerful, and exhausting. They used winter. In cold places, frozen lakes and rivers became natural ice factories. When the ice was thick enough, people went out with saws, hooks, sleds, and a lot of courage. They cut the frozen surface into huge blocks, not cute little cubes for a glass, big, heavy slabs of winter. Imagine standing on a frozen lake, cutting the floor beneath your feet into rectangles, then dragging those blocks out like treasure. That is why it was called ice harvesting. Before the fridge, winter was not just weather. Winter was inventory. The ice had to be cut, lifted, transported, packed, and protected. If the storage was bad, the whole effort could vanish into water before summer even arrived, so people built ice houses. And this is where the old world starts sounding like a survival game. An ice house could be a special building, a cellar, or a pit designed to keep ice from melting too fast. The ice was stacked and packed with insulating materials like straw or sawdust. So no, their fridge was not always in the kitchen. Sometimes their fridge was a dark room that smelled like straw, wet wood, and hard work. People were not making cold. They were borrowing it from nature and trying to stop it from escaping. And when you think about that, a modern fridge is almost rude. You plug it in, shut the door, and walk away. Old cold needed planning. If you wanted ice in warm months, somebody had to think about it. During winter, cut it, store it, deliver it, and pay for it. That brings us to the icebox. Before electric refrigerators became common in homes, many people used iceboxes. Wooden, metal-lined cabinets with insulated walls and a compartment for a block of ice. The ice slowly melted. Cool air moved around the food. The cabinet bought you time. But here is the funny part. The fridge had to be fed. You could not just trust it forever. You needed more ice. In many places, an ice delivery person brought blocks to homes and businesses. Imagine your modern fridge texting you. Please insert ice block to continue. That was the icebox life. It was clever, but it was not effortless. The ice melted. Water collected. The cooling was uneven. And if the ice delivery did not come, your beautiful wooden cabinet was furniture with anxiety. Still, for many households, the icebox was a huge step. It brought stored cold closer to daily life. But not everyone had easy access to ice. If you lived in the wrong climate, or you were too far from an ice trade route, or you simply did not have the money, you needed other tricks. So people looked down. Literally, they used the earth. Root cellars worked because the ground can stay cooler and more stable than the air above it. A cellar could keep vegetables and fruits in a dark, cool, humid environment. It was not a freezer. It was not magic. But it slowed things down. And before fridges, slowing things down was the whole game. Potatoes, carrots, onions, apples, and other produce could last longer when stored correctly. Darkness helped. Coolness helped. Humidity helped certain vegetables avoid drying out too fast. So if you could not bring cold into the kitchen, you brought food closer to the cold. The earth became the fridge. It is easy to miss how clever that is, because today we think of storage as shelves, drawers, cabinets, and plastic containers. But for many people, storage was about reading the environment. Where is the shade? Where is the cool room? Which wall gets less sun? Which food can sit in damp sand? Which food must stay dry? Before fridges, food storage was not just a chore, it was knowledge. And then there was one of my favorite tricks, evaporative cooling. In dry climates, people could use water, air, and porous materials to create a cooling effect. One famous version is the clay pot cooler. The basic idea is beautifully simple. You place one clay pot inside another. You put wet sand between them. You cover the top with a damp cloth. As water evaporates from the outer surface, it pulls heat away, cooling the inside. No electricity, no compressor, no humming motor, just clay, sand, water, airflow, and patience. That is not a fridge. That is science wearing village clothes. Now, this did not work perfectly everywhere. Evaporation works best in dry air. In a very humid place, the trick becomes much weaker. But in the right conditions, it could help fruits and vegetables last longer. That meant less waste and more breathing room for families. This is the part that makes me respect old solutions. They were local, practical, and built from whatever people had. Ice in cold places, earth where it helped, clay and water where the air was dry, shade where the sun was too strong, salt where cold was unreliable. Because sometimes the answer was not keeping food cold at all. Sometimes the answer was changing the food. If you cannot stop time with cold, you fight time another way. You dry the food, you salt it, you smoke it, you pickle it, you ferment it. Drying removes moisture. Salting pulls water out. Smoking can dry and flavor food at the same time. Pickling uses acid. Fermentation turns the food into something new before it becomes something dangerous. Think about dried fruit, salted meat, smoked fish, pickled vegetables, fermented cabbage. These were not just flavors. They were survival technologies. Some tastes we now enjoy as tradition were originally answers to a serious problem. How do we eat later without getting sick? Before fridges, a household had to think differently about food. Freshness had a deadline. Season mattered, weather mattered, distance mattered. If fish was caught, people had to decide quickly. Eat it, sell it, salt it, smoke it, dry it, or lose it. If milk was available, it might become butter, cheese, or fermented dairy, because transformation could be safer than waiting. That is the deeper trick. People were not only preserving food, they were preserving options. The fridge changed that. It made food less urgent, it made leftovers normal, it helped supermarkets become what they are. It changed how often people shopped, how they cooked, what they trusted, and how much variety could sit quietly in one kitchen. But before that, food was a moving target. You had to catch it at the right moment, store it in the right place, and know which trick matched which food. And if you got it wrong, the food told you. Not politely. So the next time you open your fridge at midnight, standing there like the answer is going to reveal itself, remember what that little light is hiding. Behind that cold door is a whole history of people cutting ice from lakes, packing it in sawdust, digging cellars, carrying frozen blocks, cooling vegetables in clay pots, salting meat, smoking fish, and turning food into something that could survive another day. Before fridges, people did not have one magic box. They had winter, earth, water, salt, smoke, clay, patience, and serious respect for timing. And the craziest trick of all was this. When they could not control the kitchen, they learned to control time.